Good evening from Bali, everyone. It's Aniva Menon from hearthealthbrainhealth.com, encouraging healthy grieving and mindful actions. Today, I thought that I would get this video out to you because the last video I created was about our thoughts create our reality. And as I've been reflecting and contemplating about this idea and truth, you know I like to go deep. So I like to see that yes, our thoughts do create our life experiences, and oftentimes repeated life experiences. But because I like to go deeper, I reflected or have been reflecting on what's deeper than these thoughts. And it's so interesting that emotions are something that I work with quite regularly. As you know, I focus on grief recovery when I'm in Canada, and even here, it's an instinctive response for me to understand emotions that lead to certain patterns of behavior. And I do know that emotions can lead to various health concerns. So of course right now, or I shouldn't say of course, right now here, the weather's changing, so there's a little bit more rain. And just like in North America, when the weather is changing as it is, we see more colds and coughs and flus, and this is that time of the year. And of course this time of the year has kind of extended into much longer, where before it might have been fall and spring were the change of season times in North America. And now we see that fall has kind of extended through the winter, right in through spring, and then maybe in summer we get a little bit of break for the immune system. I also think that it's not just a break for the immune system where we're concerned about I better boost my immune system because it's cold and flu season. In Chinese medicine, which is of course something that I taught quite a bit in North America, in Canada and Ontario, I know that grief is the emotion that affects the lungs and the immune system. So in knowing this and then learning about grief recovery and now had been practicing for years in Ontario, recognizing that yes, this emotion actually leads to a lot of immune concerns. So colds and coughs being one of them, or some of them, but also other immune system concerns. And I will talk about that a little bit more in this series of videos. But today, I just wanted to share that yesterday again, or the last video I should say, when I spoke about our thoughts create our life experience, very true. What precedes a thought though? It's emotions. So of course I'll let you try to answer that in a moment, but yes, emotions create our thoughts. Now it's interesting that I've known this, and you can see that I'm also affected by the weather pattern change. Boy, I definitely have this cough brewing, and there's nothing like having something ourselves to make us really look within to understand what is the message this is teaching me. And so I'm in a perfect spot today to help share this with you from a very authentic space of my own experience, that yes, its weather is changing, but of course I focus on emotions. So what are the emotions that are happening? Now, if we think about grief, and when people think of grief, many times people will think of death or a relationship breakup, but there's so many types of grief. And in grief recovery, those of you who have worked with me in the past would know that the whole definition of grief or loss is when two emotional experiences are happening at the same time. So I've got a cough, and boy, I feel like there's something I have to release, right? I'm not so happy about that. And of course it also affects the energy a little bit, and I think, oh, the weather is doing it, but I went into emotions. So what is the grief behind this? Does it change how frequent or how easily, how much time I have to spend on anything? Because now anything that I want to do will take just a little bit longer because my system is healing. Or I can also recognize that, wow, now I'm really drawn to this awareness of my body needs my attention, and it's also giving me this opportunity to learn something. What might I be grieving in this moment? Or what's the change that might be coming? Usually change is linked with some sort of grief. And change is just because something is changing. And it could be changing to something better or not better, but change is the loss of something familiar and the start of something not so familiar. So again, this is a grief experience. this grief experience, I can tell you so that you're not worried about me for sure, is this whole idea of I am definitely planning on taking a trip to Lombok again. And it's a change. Here in Bali, I'm very comfortable and familiar with this space. And then it's a change for me. So it's, even though I've been in Lombok several times, there's a change in terms of familiarity, even in terms of people, in terms of anything I can walk to. I love getting to the market here. So there's the familiarity of the things that I love. And there's also familiarity of the things that I do not love. So maybe I'm very close to traffic here. And of course, there's places in Lombok that have heavy traffic too. But I guess I found pockets of spaces that I find very comfortable and have met people that I feel very comfortable with. And as most of you know, I know that this soul is on a journey. So this is a calling. This entire time in Indonesia has been a calling. I come back to emotions. Why? Remember that when I've spoken about our thoughts create our experience, and now when we've got a little bit deeper, we recognize that emotions lead to our thoughts. And you know that I do a lot of spiritual, I will say, teaching online here, but it's awareness. There's no way to teach spirituality. It is to be experienced. And guess what? I came across this awesome video today. This video today I came across has this title: Your emotions are the voice of the higher self. I find this so fabulous. And for those of you who know, I've used this term before, higher self, and many have. So Vedic teaching certainly talks about the higher self. Higher self could be linked with the term Atman. Higher self could be linked with Brahman. Higher self could be linked with God. Higher self could be linked with soul energy. All of that is higher self linked. And boy, I loved seeing this. And let me tell you, the video has been fantastic. And again, things don't come across my sight, my awareness, unless I see it helps both myself and the people I'm speaking to. Today, I would love to share this idea with you, that our emotions are our higher self speaking. And oftentimes in modern society, we have really hushed those thoughts because we've been raised in families of don't show emotions in this situation. I know we've just had an argument, but okay, everyone keep it together, and we're having company over, but we're going to be all nice and easy, and put on a smile and go to work, even though you've just lost a family member, or some family member is ill, or has just had a relationship change. So even though that's in your mind, but put on a happy face because you're at work. It's really encouraged that we don't share our emotions. And while there's value to that in terms of ease in a work situation or even in a home situation, it's also led to us denying that we have those emotions. So what many have done is push them aside, and especially if an emotion has arisen from a memory from many years ago, we'll say, oh, that was so long ago, I don't know why that came to my mind, and I was so upset this morning, but I think I had a dream about something like this. We'll find all of the reasons and make our mind understand why it came up and why it's not important. Because again, usually if it's just a dream, it's not that important. It was just a dream. It was like a nightmare. It was just something my friend said, was talking about, that got me emotional. But when I am emotional, something is coming through me from my learning. And this is something that we have forgotten. So when we see in schools, and you know, I'm very interested in the educational system, in systems like schools and workplaces and education in general, so even in terms of any coworkers, don't tell so-and-so that so-and-so just got fired because they're crying in the bathroom. And so that sort of conversation, we don't just sit with, wow, someone's really upset in our workplace. What we do is often the ego takes over and fear kicks in, and that's also an emotion, where it starts thinking, oh no, is my job safe? So I don't really even care about the crying person in the bathroom, and that can happen at a school, or it can happen in a workplace, or it can happen in a home, where someone is crying in the bathroom, and maybe the family knows, but it's just like, I'll let them get over it. They'll be out soon. Either way, we do the same thing. Even if we feel really sorry for them, that I'm so sorry I yelled at them, now they're crying in the bathroom, we don't actually acknowledge that. We might acknowledge, can I make the other person feel better? I don't come back to me, how does this make me feel in this moment? I'm a little bit not so comfortable. I don't know how to handle this. And this is what we've done is, I don't know how to handle this, so I'll just avoid that. And even those that do approach that, wherever this person may be crying, we often try to fix rather than just sitting with the emotion of, wow, this has to really hurt. I'm so sorry that this hurts. And this is part of grief recovery, but it's also something that we can all practice right now. Do you run from those conversations, those thoughts, those reflections about the heavier emotions that we don't really want to see? How about those really exciting emotions, those ones that are really happy and exciting and wonderful? And I would know this in terms of Indonesia, because many of the people that I see here are on vacation. And they're so happy, we're finally on a vacation, and it took this much time, and it took this much time to save up this much money. It's the first time I've been in Indonesia, or it could be the 5th time or the 10th time. And they're so excited, except as soon as that time is running out and they're going back to their country, I'm so sad, I'm leaving Indonesia, my vacation's over, or it's been raining this whole time and hardly had any sunshine. So there's already the planning of, this time is running out and now I'm going back into my familiar space. And rather than thinking of the practical, yes, logical things, work is going to be starting again, I'm going back to my country, this vacation time is finishing, we don't sit with the emotion. This emotion of, whether we call it discontent, that could be an awareness, whether we call it a fear, I really don't like the boss that I work for, whether we call it sadness, because I know that I want to be in this particular position, but I do this sort of work, and certainly not a vacation when I go back to work. Whatever it is, it's an emotion. That emotion is linked with our higher self. And this is what we've constantly pushed aside. So some of you know that meditation is very much about listening to our higher self, listening to our higher self. Prayer is speaking with our higher self. So when I see these words on this video that I just watched, which I will again elaborate on in future videos, your emotions are the voice of the higher self, of your higher self. Well, I won't even say your. It is the higher self. It is God. It is Source. It is the universe. This is the voice that we have been silencing. And boy, are there a lot of people crying in the world today. And are we listening? Are we able to sit with it to help transmute and transform that energy because we can? Or do we just add the same energy? If I see a sad movie, I'm holding sadness, I put that out into the collective energy field. And believe me, the collective energy field is quite saturated with this energy because it's not being expressed, it's not being noticed, acknowledged, released with love and compassion, because we keep looking at everyone else. Well, that person's certainly not happy. I don't look back at myself. Am I happy? Am I grieving something? Am I sorry about something? Am I centered, healthy? Is my body speaking? Because again, I can say it's the weather, or I can say there's some grief that's arising. Today, I would love for us all to focus back on emotions too, and recognize the value of these. I'm just so grateful that for this journey, it has been many, many years that I've looked at emotions, whether I was teaching or practicing Chinese medicine, naturopathic medicine, or now when I'm looking at spirituality in general. I will say grief, sadness, emotions of any sort have always been quite a central part of my work. And today I share this with you. Let your emotions guide you. Let your mind be silent enough to hear your soul speak. Today, I leave you with these words. There's no particular quotation for today, but I will be talking about this idea for the next several videos. I wish you a fantastic day or night wherever you are. I hope you listen to your soul speaking, but you do need to silence the mind to do so. I wish you a fabulous day or night, and I hope you have a great experience of listening deeply to the soul. I will see you next time, and I hope you remember, transform your mind and transform your life. Have a great day or night, everyone.